What's crackin', ladies and gents? Nerfcore here, and welcome to Hero Spotlight 13. Stormwalker, aka Lucy, one of my favorite support characters to complement your main damage carries, as well as doing decent damage herself. Let's take a look at her skills. Storm does damage to 4 random enemies. I like this skill because it can also hit the back row for decent damage.
Rolling in the wind.
Storm Protection. Lucy's basic attacks deal damage to 2 random enemies in the front, and at 3 of 3 relics reduces skill damage by 20% on the targets. Storm Rage. Her basic attack increases rear allies' attack percentage for 2 rounds, and at 9 of 9 relics increases attack to 40% and skill damage by 20%, which would make it as high as Cupid's lover buff. Storm Perfusion. Lucy increases crit rate of herself and an ally by 20% at max level. A great way to increase your main damage carry's crit if you are unlucky like me with gear RNG. Lucy's Skill Awaken increases her attack and skill damage by 8% when she does a basic attack, which lasts for 2 rounds. For Lucy's talents, I treat Lucy as a damage dealer / support, so you can go the damage dealing talents if you like to push out more damage, so it'll be Precise Strikes or Shadow Ambush. If you want more survivability, then Super Shield, of course. For the second talents, that would either be Titan Killer or Weakness Found, depending on whether it's for PvE or PvP. For the third talent, Overprotection if overhealing happens. Ghost Curse is my default go-to talent. And as for the last talent, if you want to deal more damage, then Death Gaze for long drawn-out fights like Quantum Invasion. Rush Offense if you want her to burst and have more plus speed, so she can do her basic attack first to buff up your allies in the rear. Violent Strike can also be used by her and Area of Effect characters to deal more damage, as the damage applies to all enemies when the hero does their skill attack, which is once per round to do the burst. Defensive Barrier. If you have no one in the rear that has defensive barrier talent, she is still treated as a support, so it's okay for her to use. For Lucy's Stigmata, her attack buff does not stack with Samurai. I tested it multiple times and it did not increase it. I guess I can understand why it shouldn't, because if it procced with Samurai in the first round and second round, that would mean a maximum of 120% attack buff without 9 of 9 relics. In saying this, she can still use Samurai. Can also use Domination for PvE, triple-double Stigs, meaning 2 Zealots, 2 Judgment, 2 Sins. If I were a spender, I'd likely use Thorn on her. Her secondary Stigmata is Sin, Zealot, or Judgment. For her substats, you will prioritize Speed, Attack Percentage, Crit, Broken Armor, then the rest. As for Lucy's equipment stats, priority is plus Speed, Attack, Crit, Broken Armor, then the rest. Her tier 2 stats, this is a personal choice. You can go plus Speed if you want her to make the attack first to buff up your rear allies, and don't care much for her squeezing her own damage out. Otherwise, it will be broken armor.
Be quiet. I'm recording the whispers of the wind.
Her exclusive equipment is straightforward. It gives her ally additional crit rating, but at plus 30, it becomes all allies. Very good if your main damage carries lack crit, and Godslayer and Indira benefit a lot from crit, as an example. I personally give Lucy original time artifact to get her basic attack off first, to buff the rear, or damage support type artifacts like Wings of Angel and Templar Glory. I sometimes give her no artifacts, otherwise she is able to use most artifacts except for the tanking ones, of course. As for her relics, if I were to do it, I would just evenly upgrade them all. I've put points into Mage Tech because of Queen of Desert. I would always focus on a damage carry first, so Lucy just benefits indirectly. I stopped putting points into Mage Tech and decided to focus on Godslayer instead, because Queen was doing well with not much more focus. For her Union Institute, I put a minimum of 20 in the damage slots. As for StarTech, I always focus on the damage carry first, but Lucy still benefits indirectly. So I always make sure every node has a minimum of 5 points in it, except for the faction bonus nodes, and then I start focusing on all the attack nodes, and then the rest. Her StarTech skill, Storm Perfusion, has a 20% chance to give 10% critical damage to an ally. Storm Perfusion works after she does her skill attack, so that is when it is calculated. It's a small damage buff to your main damage carry, so it is still good enough. Lucy is one of my favorite characters due to her strong buffs to your main damage carry and backline. She synergizes well with Godslayer, Indira, Toko, Kinley. Basically characters that benefit from attack buffs and crit buffs. I find that Lucy is squishy and tends to get one shot, which is her weakness. I've thought about making her tanky, but I don't think it's worth it. She needs to be like her damage carries that she supports. That does it for Hero Spotlight 13. See you in Hero Spotlight 14. Thanks for watching my current favorite game, X-Hero.